What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video with me, Lee from FPL Family. Now, big bone of contention coming into Game Week 30 or Game Week 30 Plus, as official FPL are calling it. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about the plus. I quite like it, actually. So Game Week 30 Plus is coming up, double Game Week 30 Plus. But a big bone of contention is the unlimited transfers that the game has given us, effectively another wildcard. Now, I said on our live stream on Sunday, not sure I totally agreed with it, but I can totally see why they've done it. It's going to entice people back into the game. It's going to mean that all of those guys that maybe forgot about their teams or haven't played FPL in quite some time are going to come back into the fold. And from the game's perspective, from the wider popularity of FPL, I can totally see why they've done it. So, of course, you guys watching this, I know that Sam in particular, and I am a little bit too, thinking, well, hold on a minute. We built our teams up to the break and we were setting ourselves up for the rest of the season. And maybe, like me, you've used your wild card and you use that wild card to set your team up. So now by everybody else in the game having unlimited transfers, maybe that puts you on the back foot. I don't know. Listen, guys, I'm kind of indifferent towards it. And to be honest, if it brings people back into the game and boosts the popularity of FPL, so be it. But on Twitter, absolutely has been a bone of contention. So thank you for everybody who's following me on Twitter at FPL Family and has come back to me on some of my tweets and interacted with me over there. A lot of people may be thinking about actually not using any of the unlimited transfers because of all the reasons I mentioned before. So if you had your team in a kind of nice position and you were pretty happy with it as it was, maybe you'd used your wildcards a couple of weeks before the break like I did, and actually your team was looking pretty good. Maybe you don't need those unlimited transfers. Maybe instead you're thinking about having your team as is and playing the free hit in Game Week 30 Plus so that you maximise those double game weeks. Don't forget Arsenal, Man City, Aston Villa and Sheffield United, all with double game weeks in double Game Week 30 Plus. So maybe you're thinking about using your free hit to maximise Game Week 30 with a view to obviously your team reverting back to as it is for Game Week 31, which you're kind of happy with and you're fine with because, as I said before, you had your team all set for the run-in, everything was looking rosy. You don't need those unlimited transfers. Just be aware that if you do make any of those unlimited transfers, if you do use those swaps, then of course you play your free hit, your team will revert back to what you had before those transfers. So you will lose those transfers effectively. So you need to define what your strategy is early doors. Are you going to make the transfers? Are you going to maximize the double game week and make some tweaks here and there to set your team up for the rest of the season, knowing that the free hit is in your back pocket and you can use it at a later date? Or are you going to go all out and say, well, my team's in good shape, I'm going to use the free hit in Game Week 30? Maybe, like Sam, you've got your wild card still there as well. I haven't, like I say, spent it a couple of weeks before the break. Wish I hadn't, but there it is. Who could have foreseen the circumstances that then came to bear? But Sam still has her wild card in her pocket. So she is actually considering going all out on the unlimited transfers, just going crazy, completely maximising the double game week, having loads of Aston Villa, loads of Man City, loads of Arsenal, and then fixing that in Game Week 31 and 32 onwards. So play the wild card in 31. All of those players that you got in just to maximise Game Week 30, you can fix all that when you go into 31 and play your wild card. And of course, she still has the free hit for later on in the season in her back pocket, should she wish to play it at a later date. So those of you that are still sitting there with all your chips in hand and now effectively have got this unlimited wild card and this unlimited transfers cheat code almost in FPL right now for double Game Week 30, you have a lot of decisions to make, but you are holding all the cards because you can play those chips at your leisure and play them whenever you feel it right to. One thing I should say at this point is that if you do make use of the unlimited transfers, and like I say, if you're a guy or a girl that's hasn't played FPL for some time this season and you want to come back because you want to revolutionize your team, just be aware that you probably will have some players that you do have some value tied up in. You might not have played it for a few weeks, but there's a reasonable chance that you've had, for example, Trent Alexander-Arnold for most of the season. A lot of FPL managers get on Trent Alexander-Arnold fairly early doors, maybe Game Week 2, 3, when it looked like he was going to have that right-back slot nailed down in the Liverpool team. As soon as that came to bear and as soon as he was looking like he was nailed on in that team, everybody piled on. And of course, his value's gone up. He's 7+ now. Goodness knows what price we're going to find Trent Alexander-Arnold at next season. So just be aware, if you do take Trent Alexander-Arnold out as one of your transfers in the unlimited transfer bonanza, just be aware that it's going to cost you more to bring the Liverpool man back. You're going to lose a lot of that value and you're going to have to pay more to bring him back. And there will be a lot of players, a lot of FPL players that don't only just have Trent Alexander-Arnold, but do have a lot of players in their team that where that will apply. Bruno Fernandes is another one. Obviously, a lot shorter time period than Trent Alexander-Arnold. But if you got on Bruno Fernandes early, even if you got on him early before he even kicked a Premier League ball, you will know that he's gone up a fair amount in price. And of course, if you sell him on the basis that he has a single game week in 30, which is against Spurs, difficult fixture compared to some of the double game weekers that look very, very enticing, then if you take Bruno Fernandes out and you want him back, obviously you're going to lose that value. Now, I've been looking at my own team as we go into double game week 30. And you know what? I'm actually not that unhappy with it. It actually looks pretty good. And again, having played the wild card a couple of weeks prior to when the coronavirus lockdown kicked in, I was setting my team up for not just the double game week, but I was looking at game weeks 31 to 33 and 34, thinking, do you know what, short to medium term, my team actually looks pretty good. So having played the wild card, if I go all out in 31, as I've just suggested that Sam might do, I don't have that wild card to fix any of the issues and to get out all of those Villa and Sheffield United players that perhaps you don't want from game week 31 onwards. So I kind of have to play this unlimited transfers thing a little bit by ear, to a point where maybe I don't want to make any at all, actually. Maybe I might consider just playing my free hit chip and maximising the double game week that way. If I look at the rest of the fixtures and look at the rest of the weeks, the game weeks that we've got to go in FPL, none of them look as enticing as the double game week. I don't think we're going to get any future double game weeks. And of course, we like to play our chips in a double game week. We like to play the bench boost in a double game week. We like to play the free hit in a double game week. So if I'm looking at game week 30 in isolation, and I'm looking at the chips I've got left, there's a reasonable chance that I'm going to play one of them, be it bench boost or free hit. And at the moment, the free hit chip does look pretty enticing, knowing that my team will revert back to a team that I'm pretty happy with. Because remember, I'd set it up for game week 31 and beyond. So I don't think, guys, and this might sound a bit strange, right, given that we've got unlimited transfers, and on the face of it, the gut reaction is that's a really, really nice position to be in. We can make loads of transfers, and that's a thing we like to do, right? As FPL managers, we like to tinker with our teams. Kind of feeling like I'm not going to do much of that, if at all. And if I want to play my free hit chip, remember that free hit chip wipes out any of those unlimited transfers that you've made. If I play my free hit chip, probably not going to make an unlimited transfers. So those of you that are in my position kind of have to make your mind up on that strategy pretty quickly in terms of what you're going to do. If I run through my team, if I look at the players that I'm thinking of maybe getting out, if I was going to use those unlimited transfers, I'd maybe switch the goalkeeper. I have Patricio right now because coming into the coronavirus break, Wolves defensively, I think Bolly was back from injury. Matt Doherty was marauding down that right-hand side and looking good. And they were keeping clean sheets. Patricio was rolling out the sixes, more or less every other week. So wanted to go into the remainder of the season with almost like a set and forget goalkeeper. I've got Button on my bench, who I know is pretty likely not to play barring injury for Brighton Hove Albion. So I was kind of set to just go for Patricio and leaving there for the rest of the season, given that the Wolves fixtures don't look too bad. But as I've mentioned before in the live stream on Sunday, and I've mentioned before on Twitter, form is a very difficult thing to judge right now. We're coming into the next, almost like the next in a completely new phase of FPL where it's behind closed doors. So home and away advantage is going to mean less. We've got teams in mid-table that will be lacking motivation to go out there and play football, frankly. So that kind of form that Wolves were showing defensively before the break, I don't know if that's going to count for much coming into game week 30 and beyond. So I don't know. Do I want to double up with Doherty and Patricio? I don't know. I probably want to keep Doherty because, again, if he can keep that spot in that 3-5-2 that Nuno Espirito Santo was quite keen, it looked like he was quite keen on sticking on that formation before the break, then Doherty was getting forward. I remember seeing a European game where he popped up in the 6-yard area for a tap-in. I mean, that's the stuff of dreams for FPL defenders. So not only is he going to get the sixes from the clean sheets, but he's going to pop up with the goals and assists too in the box. So Matty Doherty, I think, is one I want to stay on given the fixtures. But Patricio maybe one I want to, I don't know, think about maybe moving out as one of my unlimited transfers if I'm not going to play my free hit chip. Completing the back line, then I've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I don't think is going to go anywhere for me, free hit chip or otherwise. And I have Gomez right now. And I mentioned on Sunday the fact that we have 5 substitutions now to have to deal with in the Premier League. So managers, if you guys have missed this, the managers in the Premier League can make up to 5 substitutions now per game. They can have 9 on the bench. They can make 5 substitutions, and they can make it at 3 points throughout the game. So might we see, guys, who knows? We might see a situation where a Premier League manager brings off 5 players and puts another 5 on. I mean, goodness knows what sort of carnage that's going to play with our FPL teams. But needless to say, it is going to be difficult now. If you thought the Pep roulette was difficult before the 5 substitution rule, going to be even worse now, particularly with Pep resting and rotating around the FA Cup and the potential resuming of the European Cup, of course. So I've got Gomez, and I'm kind of happy, as I mentioned on Sunday, to have the centre halves, not just of Liverpool, but if I was looking to bring in other defenders now on my unlimited transfers, I think I might start looking at central defenders with a bit of goal threat. And I've got Gomez mainly through price reasons. If I had the money, I think I'd go for Virgil van Dijk, given that he's got that bit of goal threat about him. But actually, if you look at the fullback position, that is a very high energy position for most teams. Liverpool is no exception. Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, probably 2 of the best athletes at our club. But Matt Doherty is going to expend a lot of energy there for Wolves. Pretty much every club plays with these really flying wing-back system now. So will the Premier League managers look at that and say, well, actually, maybe I only need to give you, dare I say it, 59 minutes rather than the 60 or the 70 that we're used to seeing, because they're expending all of that energy. They don't want these guys to pick up injuries, of course. We don't want the hamstrings to go. We don't want the cruciate ligaments to go, of course. Maybe Premier League managers will protect these players. So to that end, if you want to de-risk your back line in FPL, think about which centre-halves you might want to bring in. Maybe a Virgil van Dijk over Andy Robertson, based on what I've just said, might be something to consider. But right now I have Joe Gomez. Not a lot of upside from a goal threat perspective, but you know what you're going to get from Liverpool. We think we know we're going to get is clean sheets. So I'm happy to have him and Trent Alexander-Arnold in my team, at least to the point when Liverpool get that 6 points they need, and then Klopp might start to rest and rotate, at which point I might start to look at my 3 Liverpool assets in a slightly different way. But right now, Trent and Gomez are going to stay. If I look into my midfield, the 3 that I've got, the main hitters, I'm kind of happy with. Again, until Liverpool win that trophy, I want Mane or Salah in my team. I've got Mo Salah. I've got no real intention of moving him on right now. Like I say, when or if Liverpool win the trophy, of course, I hope it's when. But if they lift the trophy, that might change. My attitude might change. But right now, Mo Salah stays in my team. I've got Kevin De Bruyne, obviously got the double game week. And at the end of the day, it's Kevin De Bruyne. With his ownership, it would be very risky to take him out, no doubt about it. I have Bruno Fernandes in my team. He came in for me. I think I saw one game that he played for Manchester United. I thought, I've got to get this guy. So I brought him into my team fairly early. No designs really to take him out, despite only having a single game week with Spurs away, tricky fixture. But I think Manchester United's fixtures for the remainder of the season, plus the fact they have something to fight for in terms of the European spots, I think Bruno Fernandes has shown me enough post-coronavirus break for him to stay in my team. He's going nowhere right now. Then I look at the remainder. So I have 4 and 5, Sarr and Saka in my team right now. Now, Ismaila Sarr, again, was showing some really good form in the lead up to the break. As I said before, what does that form count for now? Probably not a lot. So Sarr is one that I might look to move on if I start to use some of those unlimited transfers. Saka I have in my 5th spot. Now, I do have a bit of a concern around Saka because Tierney and Kolasinac both returning from injury for Arsenal. So will we see a little bit of rotation there on that side for Arsenal? I think Saka was kind of showing enough promise before the break to maybe keep his spot. But Arsenal and obviously Arteta has spent a lot of money on Kieran Tierney. He'll want to make him be successful in that spot for Arsenal. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a bit of rotation there from the Arsenal fullback position. But Saka, it feels wrong to kind of take him out ahead of a double game week. So I think he's probably going to get a stay of execution if I decide not to play my free hit team. And then up front, I've got Aubameyang. And of course, one of the big questions you guys will be asking on Twitter and everywhere else in the FPL community is Aubameyang or Aguero for the double. Now, listen, if you're playing your free hit, absolutely a case of both. If you can squeeze them both in, maybe go without one of the Liverpool players in midfield, maybe get rid of a Salah or a Mane temporarily for a week, and then go to an Aubameyang and a Aguero, go for the A&A up front strategy. Right now, if I don't play my free hit, I think I stay with Aubameyang. I think I stay with him. I said on Sunday on the live stream, I feel like he's one of those quite naturally fit players that will hit the ground running when he comes back into the Premier League and back into the Arsenal side. So a tricky looking double fixture, of course, Man City away, Brighton away. Not easy for Aubameyang and Arsenal, but we know what his goal scoring record is like. May even have one eye on the golden boot. So I think, well, I'm going to stick with him. It'd be foolish of me to think about getting rid of Aubameyang ahead of a double game week. So I'm going to stick with him. Jota is going to get a stay of execution in my team, Diego Jota. But West Ham away, which doesn't feel like too bad a fixture, despite the fact it's only a single. And then, of course, the Wolves fixtures, as I mentioned before when talking about Doherty, look pretty good going forward. So I think Jota's going to stay. Now, can he keep up that form? It's the form question again. Can he keep that up from the form that he showed pre-coronavirus break? I have a bit of a concern over that, to be honest with you. There was a few guys that commented on Twitter on a post that I did earlier today that said, actually, Jota struggled at the beginning of the season. He struggled to get into his stride, whereas other players hit the ground running for Wolves. And of course, Jota is one of those players that traditionally we see come to the fore once he's got his confidence, he's in his stride. Hence, we were starting to see it before the break. I wonder whether the break might just set him back a little bit. And I have a bit of a concern over that. So I have got one eye on what I might do with Diogo Jota. Calvert-Lewin is another form pick, was banging him in left, right and centre. But with a single game week in game week 30 against Liverpool, all right, it's at Goodison Park. Or is it or not? Well, let's see. It might be at Goodison Park. I think the Premier League has some designs on that potentially being a neutral venue. But nevertheless, Calvert-Lewin against Liverpool, can he score? Of course he can. But as a single game weeker, I feel like my third striker spot might be better spent elsewhere. Let's see. Then making up the remaining spots on my bench, I've mentioned Saka already. I have Ender Stevens, I'm quite happy to keep. He's going to get a starting spot for me with a double game week against Aston Villa and Newcastle. And then I've got Charlie Taylor, who, again, single game week in game week 30, plays Manchester City away, which is an awful fixture. But the Burnley fixtures don't look too bad in the medium term. So I think I will keep hold of him as well. So there's my team, guys. I think it's in pretty good shape. I don't foresee me spending too many of those unlimited transfers that we are all very, very happy to have. I may or may not play my free hit in game week 30 to maximise the double game weekers. If I do that, then it probably will mean taking some money out of my midfield, out of Bruno Fernandes and Salah temporarily to bring in the likes of Aguero, maybe even take a punt on Pepe, who knows, knowing that those guys will go back out of my team in game week 31 and I will get Bruno Fernandes and Salah back in, which is a team that I'm very, very happy with having set it up pre-coronavirus break. So there we go, guys. That's the view of my team right now. Plenty can change between now and the 17th when it all kicks off again. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. Leave us a like on the video. Follow us on Twitter at FPL Family. And we'll see you on Sunday with Sam for another live stream. See you soon.